All right, so here we go. Waiting for the start of the race. You're at the back of the field, so you got to think about all these drivers ahead of you are going to stack up like crazy into turn one. So we're just looking for whatever space is going to be given to us. We're going to be taking it easy, getting the clutch down to where it needs to be. And away we are, and immediately we spot space to the right. So there we go, and it's 4 wide in front, so we got to let off the gas. And it's just so slow, you have to let out and just pick your battles here. We find we're 2 wide, so we're going to get into the middle of the road to make sure no one can force it 3 wide, stick it up the inside, and we're just looking for space. We still have JB on our outside here, so not much we can do. And he's going faster into the corner, so we decide to go with him. And I mean, it's a 50-50 thing, and then you see he goes outside, so we actually tuck in, and then we're able to go around him on the exit, and immediately we're presented with some more carnage here. So I am just kind of weaving around here, not for any particular reason other than to get some vision on what's happening in front, as well as just for fun. But everyone going too wide into this corner, so I know it's going to be slow, and I know there's going to be opportunities. And right here, once you put your nose in, they can't stop you. You got to wreck up front, but we slow down just enough for that. And now, look at this. A small peak, but I have to slam on the brakes. That's one of those moves where you're hoping to scare the guy off the apex. But he didn't, so he hit the apex, good on him, and I had to back out of that. And looking for a move here, and just on cold tires, couldn't keep the car under control enough to get it done. So I tucked back in to try and get as good a run out of the final corner as possible. The last thing you want to do when you're testing moves out on people is to end up scrubbing off a bunch of speed on corner exit and exposing yourself to the guy behind. You see, I'm not over on the left side of the track there on corner entry because JB is still behind me looking for a way in. So on corner exit again, Rob's still that 3/10 ahead, and you see the rest of the field is running away. There's Perkins and Youngblood up ahead. They're already 2+ seconds up the road, and Rob, I know, is close enough to our pace that it's not going to be simple to get around him. And you see here, I'm not that close to him off the exit of the chicane. We go through Bomb Hole, where I stuck the nose in on him last lap. So now we've been behind him for a whole lap, and going into the final corner, I'm going to try and maximize the exit here and hope that maybe he gets a bad run. That's all I can do at this distance, 4/10 back. So really just honing in on that exit, and he did not get the best run, so we immediately have an opportunity. And we're going to see what he gives us. We want the inside. He gives us the inside. The timing was perfect on when we had to make that decision. And now it's just a matter of outbraking him into the corner and making sure that we stay on this apex so that he can't undercut us. And actually, he stayed on the outside. So again, on the brakes, there he goes alongside. But with the nature of this corner, I know we can hug this apex, attack this apex, and he's behind us now. So at this point, we now have 1.7 seconds to gain on Mark ahead. We are on lap 3, so in 2 laps, we've cut through about half the field. Up ahead, Fabian got a bad exit out of the final corner, so you're going to see Perkins go around him, and it's going to immediately expose him to us a little. So we get our first peek at where these guys are braking. You see Youngblood brake. He brakes almost at the 2 there, and I know he's doing it in anticipation of Perkins ahead. That gets me thinking, how conservative is he being on the brakes everywhere if he's afraid of, or if he's giving someone that much space? So right here, 2/10 back from the chicane, and I'm gonna stick behind, because I don't know where he's braking for it. And he hits a somewhat early braking point, but definitely not early enough to do anything with. So at this point, I'm pretty sure I'm better on the brakes than Fabian, especially with Mark getting more distance on him. And now he gets such a bad run out of Bomb Hole, I just send it here, and really, now that I'm on the inside, he can't do anything. We're going to go all the way around him through this corner, and he just has to get behind us. And now we have Daniel Lewis, who is backed up into Mark's nose, which presents us with an opportunity to go ahead and get Mark while he's here in front of us. So we're 5 minutes in, 15 minutes of this race to go, and just trying to get into the top 15 invert for the second race, and now we're already in 14th. Looking for a move on Mark, and right there is very close. I could have let off the brake pedal and slid the nose in there if I really wanted to force the issue, but it would have been kind of a dick move. He moved his car into the middle of the road to signal he was going to pinch me hard if I put it in there, and I never had overlap before we began turning in. I would have really had to send it. But again, that makes me think, okay, I'm braking much earlier, or excuse me, I'm braking a bit later in the hairpin, so I'm just going to try and stay as close to him as I can over the course of the rest of this lap, and hopefully when we get back around to turn 2, I will be on his back bumper. If another opportunity arises, sure, we take that, but it's kind of figuring out where your opponent's weakness is and planning your move accordingly. So here, all I'm thinking about is the exit of turn 1 is the key. From this distance, you can dive someone into turn 2, so we just have to stay close enough to Mark to do it, and we're gonna get right on his bumper. We have an equal exit. I'm going to take a peek, and this time, again, I just don't feel like we're close enough to do anything. But I get a good run out of here. We haven't made an attempt on someone through here yet. We went around the outside of someone into the next corner, but here we're going to go 2x2, and the idea here is to just lunge on the brakes so you get ahead of your opponent before the second part of the chicane, because you have to go through there too wide. Tough to do, but we managed to pull it off. We swing around Perkins on that apex. And now Lewis is our next target. And then we have DeJong, Duncan, McBuller. We are slowly climbing our way up through this invert. Lewis gets a bad exit here. We're going a little into the dirt. We're going to take the run into turn 1, and again, we're going to see what he gives us. Big amount of slipstream here, and if you can get on the inside of someone into turn 1, you do it, because it's just hard to really nail that outside line, and here, we're going to be able to carry it around Daniel just fine. So over the course of that lap, we close the gap to Ronald, and now to turn 1, he brakes quite a bit, and then going wide on exit, and we're just going to dive to the inside immediately, and we see some battling up ahead, so we're not going to lose these guys either. And here I don't have to leave the space to Ronald because I managed to get around him through the hairpin, so we attack that apex, and now we see something we can take advantage of, a fight that we can get in on. And you see the 24 going to the inside of the 142, so we're going to go with the inside car. That's usually the best bet. And there, they happen to come together and completely clear the road, but he goes wide, so we're just waiting for him to come back across. And just had to completely miss the apex to make sure that we didn't get hit there. And managing to avoid the incident. Could have easily just ended up T-boning that guy if I had lost track of him off to the right. But instead, he harmlessly sails by, and we get to go hunt down Anthony Lammer for another position in this first heat race. This one required quite a bit of patience. We're slowly hunting Anthony bit by bit over the course of the last 10 minutes of the race. We have 2 minutes left, and he's currently 1 second ahead. We get a decent chunk out of him out in the final corner there on exit, and I know that we're close enough to do something with 2 laps to go. And now we're close enough that we can start analyzing his racing line and see if there's any weaknesses that we can exploit. And coming out turn 1, he's actually just going to have a bad exit out turn 1 and bring us right up to him. It seems like he's braking fairly deep into the hairpin, so I'd like to kind of get him somewhere else in the circuit if I can. And here, the slipstream's strong enough that I start to think, what if we just send it? What if we get there before we even get to the final lap? And he brakes very early. We go for the lunge. We keep it on the apex, and he is nowhere to be found as we attack the apex, and we're into P8. And that is where we would eventually end up. as Fleet Smith, 4 seconds up the road, would hold on to that 7th place. Okay, it's round 2. The goal now, starting from 8th, is to win the 2nd race and complete the journey from last to first. We're starting out in 7th place. We got inverted from 8th. Massive invert there. And now we're just waiting for the green lights. And again, we're just going to wait and see what opportunities are presented to us. And it's going to get a little hairy immediately. The 26 does not go, and I get around to the right. And then we have Mark in front of us. And so the question is, can we get back to the left to go around Mark? And we're going to make it 3 wide. We just squeeze in there. A little bit of contact with Ronald. We straighten him back out, and now we're going. And look at this. We're going to go for the immediate lunge. I know that Mark's going to get stacked up here. There's nothing he can do. He has to brake earlier than usual. I have to leave him some space here. And now on exit, it's going to get us all stacked up. I'm going to have to sit in the middle of the road here to block cars behind, while at the same time trying to look for space to go for a move on Anthony. I get space to the right, but now I can't see off to the left, and I think we're 3 wide, so I give a little extra space going into the corner. But now here, still very far alongside Anthony. He just turns in on me slightly. Managed to get around with that with no damage, and Wayne stayed behind us there. Just got into our rear a little bit. However, Wayne is not dug back there. We're going to head into the last corner, and he's right on our bumper. And I know that Wayne is aggressive here, so I keep an eye on him the whole run up to turn 1. And he goes from 1 to 2 tenths back, a lunge up the inside, and I have to give a little bit of space, a little wiggle, and I come off, we get into some contact, and then as we go into the hairpin, he goes a little deep. I can't get back alongside him though, and so he is through for now. And with turn 1, really, I should have just turned down on him, but the problem was he put his nose in, and he was either going to turn us or we were just going to get out of the way. So definitely an aggressive move, but that's fine. We'll get him back, and still very much in contention for the win of this race. As you can see up in the lead up there, that is Daniel Lewis. He's currently 3.8 seconds up on us. He's got Rob Sutherland, John Duncan, JB DJ, Wayne Douglas, and then me. And we have a 30-minute race, and I'm sitting here and I know that I passed all of these people in the first race except for Wayne, I believe, which makes sense. He started behind me in this race. So I know that as long as I clear Wayne, I'm fine. The problem is that the winner of the last race, Greg Daffron, is right behind me, and he is faster than us, 100% faster than us. So this is now a race against time. Can I keep Greg behind me while I am attacking Douglas and DJ and Duncan? So right now, Wayne is, I mean, there's a reason he was able to get by me. It's not like he's slow. He definitely doesn't race at that 1.8 I rating number, right? Here he is putting pressure on DJ, who's nearly double his I rating. And I'm perfectly happy to let him go ahead and do this, because the gap to the leader has come down by a half second over these last 2 laps behind Wayne. So there's no need to panic here. There's no need to rush things. I'm focusing on keeping Greg at arm's length behind. And here we can just take things as they come to us. Or as, I guess in this instance, as Wayne puts them on our plate. And we're going to go for a very dicey move here. I want the regular racing line. And so I'm hoping that, and there goes Wayne, and he gives us a position, so it's a 2-for-1. But that I actually 4x'd JB there and made ghost contact with his car. Could have easily resulted in punting him to the left. And that's easily the most questionable thing I did in this race. Because I wanted the momentum of coming from the outside line, and I was hoping I could get to the inside of JB and still take a fairly regular racing line, but he braked a little earlier than I was expecting. And, I mean, I put myself in that position. I just had to make the dive. And, of course, Wayne just happens to lose control of his car and gift us the position that he took from us. So now it's 3 cars in front. They're all slower than us. 25 minutes, but Greg is a 10th off my bumper. So the idea for the rest of the race now is going to be to buy as much time as humanly possible by passing these cars and then putting them in between me and Daffron and then running away a bit. And then just hoping that we can hold him off at the end or build up a big enough gap that he can't get to us. But he may be more than a 10th faster than us per lap is the problem. So he's not going to go away. And even opening up a 1 second gap, that gap's only going to last for like 3 minutes, right? Take an off track there to get a little closer to the 24. And Rob Sutherland is right ahead of him. So now, again, we start to think the car ahead of us is going to get slowed into all these braking zones by having a car just ahead. Although Duncan braking really early there, and he looks a little wiggly through here, so I'm hoping to get a move on him in the bomb hole. And I look to the right, but he just closes the door, and I almost, that was even closer than when I ran over, I forget who it was earlier. It may have been Rob. But wow, watching that again, that was equally as dicey as the DJ move, because there was really never space there. It's just an intimidation. It's an intimidation tactic, but I'll explain after we make this pass, because he's going to defend to the inside. And for the first time, we're going to have to attack around the outside of turn 1 today. And so there's less grip out there. The car really wants to slide. You see me sawing at the wheel, but Duncan had a slow entry, so I was granted the space to kind of get the car under control and get around him. Through all of that, Wayne gets around Greg. So I'm granted a little bit of breathing room behind, although he is still stacked up right behind me. And now I'm kind of thinking about, is someone going to be trying something into this corner? I'm going to sit in the middle of the track. But as I was explaining earlier, a lot of what you're doing when you're intimidating or lunging at people ahead is you're trying to move the car in front of you with your mind. If you can get control of the car ahead of you, you can orchestrate whatever pass you want, right? If I can bait someone into being defensive into a corner so I can jump back on the racing line, I moved them onto the inside line and I forced them to take the corner slower. So that's sort of how I'm treating it as I'm approaching these guys, is where do I want to move them on the chessboard? And now it's just a matter of continuing to hunt down Rob. We're 8 minutes into the race now. And like I said in the first race, it's not like Rob is that much slower than me. It's not like Daniel is that much slower than me. So it's going to take a bit to catch up. And in the meantime, Greg clears Wayne, and now he's 4/10 off us again. Just no cap being set there whatsoever. And David Johansson's on the back of them too. So if I make even a whiff of a mistake at this moment, I could lose 3 positions, as the 29 in front of us gets a ton of airtime over that curb. That gives us a huge chunk of that gap back. And I'm fully focused on the exit we get out of turn 1, just in case the 29 gets a bad exit here. The good thing is that the last corner, it looks like it would be easy to send a move up the inside there as you set up for a good exit. And I was certainly thinking of that during this time, thinking Greg is almost definitely thinking of wanting to overtake me here. He's aiming for this spot, right? But it's so difficult to hold grip around there and manage to send it without clattering over the curb or clattering into the person you're trying to overtake. Which made me think, if Greg is looking at that move, he's probably thinking about doing that last couple laps. Kind of be a desperate last chance, because there are better overtaking zones on the track, but they're also easier to defend while attacking someone else, if that makes sense. Whereas here, if you're attacking someone into turn one by getting a good exit here, you really gotta, like here, I'm getting really to the right, attack the apex, and that's a good run. And now I'm thinking I can get to Rob before turn one, or at the very least in the braking zone of turn one, and he's gonna stay on the left side of the track. I look to the right, and there's the lunge, and we've basically just done to him what Wayne did to us earlier. He thought he had to give us the space, and we moved him up a lane, and now he has to yield the position completely as we send it up the hairpin, and I get run into the back of by Greg himself. Just a miscalculation, I think, on his part as we went into the braking zone side by side. Greg behind was also dealing with pressure, and that all kind of came to a head. He does get around Rob, but now we have a 1.2 second advantage over him. So a lot of time to go pick up the lead, and then once we're around Daniel, we can make it be all about defense from here on out. And here, critical error. I pick up an off track there, and I was at 13x before that. That ticks me up to 14. The incident limit for this race before you pick up a drive-through penalty is 15. So now, with over 18 minutes left in the race, I have a budget of 0 incidents. And it's extremely easy to go wide here, pick up a 1x there. It's extremely easy to, on this hairpin, you dive at this apex. Look at how much I'm cutting over. That's not an off track, but at some point it is. And if you get a bad exit, you can get an off track on that exit. So we're taking an off track tour here while we're catching up to Lewis, since this has now become a hot topic that I'm struggling with. The temperatures are cooling down, which is making the track a little bit grippier, but also a little easier for the car to get out of sorts. And that's another spot there, very easy to go off track. But after I picked up that off track here, I resolved, look, if I'm going to get the drive-through, it can't be at bomb hole. It can't be that dumb. This was a moment that had me a little worried, but blue flag cars doing a good job of respecting blue flags. Now we have, who else? It's actually Mark Perkins, this lap car ahead of us. And we're only catching Daniel at very small margins here. The same rate at which we're catching Daniel, Greg's catching back up to us, so we're all going to close up to each other basically right at the same time. And here, Daniel takes kind of a middle line through the hairpin. Costs him a lot of time. That gets us another couple tenths. And now, again, close enough to start looking at where can we overtake, where's he braking early. And as we go into this corner, he's braking pretty late. So that would be a hard move if we were to have to try and do that. So let's look for other places. Coming through bomb hole, continuing to close the gap. Greg's still a half second, so fully focused on the car ahead. I know I don't have to look back. And right now, at least, my read of Greg is as we see the 318 go wide, I know this is our chance. We get to him before the kink, so I have to pick the outside line. But we're so far ahead going into turn one, I know that even if I'm just a little deep on the brakes, I can sweep around. And that is what happens, and we take the corner normally. hitting the apex, and we're in the lead of the race for the first time today. Just before the halfway point. Greg's going to follow us through very shortly. But as I was saying, my current read of Greg is that he isn't going to, you know, he's quick, and he's going to try and pass you as cleanly as possible. And generally, he's not going to go for risky lunges if he doesn't have to. Keeping that in mind, now we think about the track we're on. If risky lunges are out of the equation unless he's desperate, the last corner is probably safe, and we can focus on getting good exits so that he can't get us into the most likely overtaking zones, which are turn 1 and turn 2. We have to maximize the gap. This is the strategy that I'm kind of developing throughout this race, is maximize the exit of the last corner, because you can't attack out of there or into there, and then into turns 1 and then just use that, all that cushion up in turns 1 and 2 where he is much faster than us. And then generally he's not going to be close enough to get us into the chicane. So it's all about staying cool under pressure and not letting Greg get any big opportunities. Because if he gets a nose ahead at any point, advantage goes to him because he's just the faster car. So I have to be putting him in disadvantaged positions at all times during this fight. All right, we jumped ahead a little bit, and now we are riding on board with Greg. You still got my inputs on the bottom there, so, you know, hopefully that's not too confusing. But here we are. Daffrin is running behind us, and there are 12 minutes left in the race, so that's how long we're going to have to defend for. He's faster. He might even be in a better car for these conditions with the sweeping corners. So we're just going to have to do what we can to keep him behind. And here, I don't get the best exit from the final corner, so we are immediately under some pressure. And I hug the inside, and now you're going to see me employ this strategy that I'm going to employ a few times. I let off the gas, and I let him get to the outside. And the purpose here is so that he is forced to turn in on the outside line. If I allow him to break earlier than me and cut and go for the over-under, I could be exposing myself. So I actually go easy into the corner. I let him come up alongside me. And then when we enter the corner, I gun it. Because now he's stuck on the outside line. He can't cross me over because he's still overlapping with me. And the only reason he's overlapping with me is because I'm forcing him to overlap with me. Car off there, not going to have any effect. And he really closes up into the chicane, but it's such a narrow piece of track, it's a non-factor. And you see how much narrower he's keeping it here than me? But I'm coming around here because I really want to get that exit correct, and I'm probably overcompensating. He's gaining time there and still managing to get a good exit. But here I managed to get, this is the kind of cushion I'm looking for, right? Weaving it around a little bit. And now look at the gain on me here as he comes through the corner exit. It's a lungeable distance, especially if someone's better on the brakes than you. That is a very lungeable distance. So I'm keeping it in the middle of the track because I know that if I do this right, I can get a better run onto the straight. But I don't do it this lap. So I'm gonna have to give him the outside, and not much that he can do here, really. All you have to do is outbrake him. And then he manages to keep his nose in there for a bit. And I have to give him a little bit of space, and that's the closest he got to overtaking me in that corner. But that was that was kind of a repeat of what happened to me earlier, where the guy turned into me. Greg was just maybe a wheel further back from where I was in that situation. And here, a critical error. I missed the apex, but Greg, I keep my car on the outside,
Greg has to slow down to avoid hitting us. So any advantage he gets from that is nullified. Again, I pull off the force him alongside us trick so he cannot cross us over. And then he hits that curb a little too hard, so he's not close enough for the hairpin. And we are through another lap. And every lap that ticks down, you just get a little more confidence. You learn a little bit more about your opponent. You learn more about where you can push them, where they're going to follow you. In the chicane, when I missed the apex, I saw that he had backed out a little bit, and I thought to myself, next time, I'm just attacking the apex and hoping that he backs out. And I don't think it next time happens, but that's something that went in the bank for use later. Only have to hold on for 9 more minutes now. There's nobody behind that really has a chance of catching us. David's running laps that are similar to mine right now, and I'm kind of in defense mode. And he's 3 seconds back. And into turn 1, we're going to make a slight error here and just not carry enough speed through the corner. It looks like we took the right racing line, but look how much he gains on us. And I immediately go over to the left, and I slow down so much that, again, he's forced on the outside line, and he can't quite get back to the apex enough to get a good run down the straight. And that time, it wasn't even me letting off. I'm not sure I really let off the gas that much into the hairpin so much as just push the brakes down a little harder than I usually would. And that keeps us ahead of him. We're going to tick over to lap 20, and we're going to still be in the lead with 6 minutes to go. And David hasn't caught up to us at all. So it is kind of liberating in a way to know that no matter what you do, nobody faster than Greg is going to come up here and start harassing you guys. But it is unfortunate that we don't have any opponents to back Greg into, as we are probably about to have to employ our turn 1 strategy here again. He's really looking for that inside line now. See, he's getting a little bit more aggressive with pinning me to the inside, and now I'm going to let off the gas and really put him on the outside, and he gets too far out there. He went too deep into the corner anyway. But you see how difficult that makes it. But at the same time, you see his behavior, his body language has changed in just a short amount of time we've been battling. The first couple times we went too wide on the front straight, Greg went to the left immediately. We ran down the front straight, took the corner. Now, that time, he came up to my back bumper as if to say, if you get off the inside at all, I'll get on the inside. So you better, he was using his mind to hold me to the right side of the track. So I had to counter that by pulling the move I usually do, but you're basically waiting, you have to react. Because he basically waited to the last second and then went all the way to the racing line to take the corner. And you saw me react and come back to the middle of the track. And that's what you're waiting for. You're staring at your rearview mirror, hoping to time it right. You also have to be careful to not go back out and hit the guy if he hasn't gone all the way out to the left side of the track, for instance. He continues to be better than us through turn 1, so we continue to take a conservative line through turn 2, and there we are lifting off. We get him alongside us, and I think that one right there especially threw him off because he gained on us a lot. And it's when you're racing behind someone and you learn their lines, you learn their momentum, and your brain starts to be able to predict they're going to go through this corner at this speed, so I can cross them over here. And by slowing down early and forcing them alongside me, I'm throwing the timing of that off completely. It's the best strategy to defend at this track because of the way the turns are set up. Obviously, that does not work great everywhere, because there are tracks where the corners have grip on the outside and he can pull these moves, but it's so hard to stay to the outside in turn 1, and it's basically a double apex, so you lose a lot of time on the outside. And then the hairpin, obviously it's a hairpin with an immediate left-hander, so if you go super wide, you can get a better run on the car in front of you, but only if they really mess up the exit. This is all information that we've just picked up over the course of this battle, and now he's really close, so I'm very urgently getting over to the right. And here, I think he backs off a little bit. That sounded like him getting off the gas a little, so I wonder if he's starting to pick up on what I'm doing. But he's now had 3 chances to go to the outside of me at the hairpin, and 3 times the exact same thing has occurred. So it's unclear to me what's going to happen next as the leader, right? And in this position, you're thinking, well, he's going to try something different. He's gonna lunge it in harder and try and pinch me to the apex, or he's going to actually just completely back out of it and focus on the exit onto the straight while I fiddle around at the apex of the hairpin. There's a couple of ways it could go. But here, with 2 minutes left, this is the best gap we've had the entire race. And it's the first time I really felt like I had the ability, the breathing room to take turn 1. And then when we go into turn 2, I'm on the racing line. And I know that I'm getting the white flag next time around. So here we maximize breaking the slipstream from Greg. And what's interesting is he didn't seem interested at all in the slipstream. And I think that's because he felt like he could close up to the back of me through this chicane. And right here, I'm really making sure I get a good exit out of there. But it's interesting. He never really got close enough to me on that straight to do anything with the slipstream except for that one time. And then he made because it wasn't really him making an error, but because I went through that corner slowly, he had to back out to not get in the back of me. That cost him 2/10, and it gave me an even bigger cushion. And now we've got one more lap of Snetterton to nail down. He's half a second behind, so we're just going to send it into turn 1. We're braking just before the 1 board, and then you hit the first apex, you hit the second apex, climb the curb, hit the exit curb. Now we're looking for just before the 1 board again, turning in a little late. And then you want to cut over as much of that grass as possible. As long as you don't put half your car over it, you're good. Still got the half-second gap to Greg, still holding on to that one remaining incident point. This entire 18 minutes, we've had to consider that in all of our defenses, be conservative as possible. But here, breaking late at the 1 board, hugging the inside so that you can really attack this. You don't want to hit the curb, but you can use all the grass create on exit. Bomb hole, you just kind of roll it through, low throttle, hard as you can on the exit. And now, it's just the final sweeper. And I'm going to take it nice and easy because I know all I have to do is not mess up this corner, and we'll have won the TCR Showdown for the first time. Out of the exit of the final corner, we've got it. We have won. We've gone from not qualifying and running no qualifying laps, no practice, no warm-up. All I did was test to see whether or not the standing start would work, and we win the second race. Clearly not the fastest car on the track, but maybe the 3rd fastest car on the track. David was pretty quick there at the end. He was catching us. If that had lasted another 10 minutes, he would have eventually become involved. But that was, I hope, a pretty good idea of the kind of racecraft that, or pretty good demonstration of that racecraft that I employ during any of the races that I run. I see David there coming up next to me just to say hi. We run SRG races together from time to time. I jump over there for endurance racing whenever the mood hits me. He's got a great team over there. And this is a great track. To all the Snetterton haters, honestly, it can be a lot of fun, but it requires a good bit of patience. You really have to be careful on some of these curbs. Well, that's going to wrap up my coverage of this event. Thank you, big thank you to Jay Cawley for hosting the Week 13 TCR Showdown now for 2 seasons. running, I believe. This one, much bigger grid than the last time. It was great to see everyone come out, nearly 40 cars. So hopefully this is something the community can continue to grow. Big congrats to Greg Daffron for winning that first race and clearly being the pace setter of the day. And thank you for watching.